All right, we are back here on the podcast talking some hoops here. We usually don't do this in the summer, but there was too much chaos in the NBA, so I need to get the guys on the Sorry to Interrupt podcast back to break it all down with me. The guys up, like if you're watching on Zoom, the guy who looks like he's in outer space is Tom Bocchino, and Sean Rowe's in his apartment. So what's up, guys?
What's up, Mike? Good to be back with you, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, you don't have to go with the caveat of using excuses like if you just missed us, you could have just said that you wanted to have us back on. Like I know the NBA went a little nuts there for a second, but you could just say that you missed us.
Yeah, I did miss you guys too, and like, I need help understanding what's happening in the NBA. So I think
So do we.
yes, so
hmm
maybe we can figure it out together.
I hope so, man.
Yeah.
I hope so.
All right, so let's start like go around a couple of big storylines here. Like we got this last time. Tom was right. The Knicks did hire Mike Brown as their coach. We've seen like his introductory press conference here. Tom, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling optimistic about it. I mean, for Tibbs, it's like he lost the locker room clearly, and the Knicks didn't really have a plan, but clearly the guy had to go. Um, I chronicled it on our podcast. He's had a long historied NBA career, young coach with LeBron. Then he moved over to Golden State for a long time. And then he was, in my opinion, unfairly fired by the Sacramento Kings, coming off of a coach of the year. I think he's going to be, like Sean said on our pod, a defensive guy, but there's going to be more depth, I'm hoping. And that by that, I mean actual like depth at all.
Yeah. I would say also modern offense too, based on what he did in Sacramento.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's kind of what the tutelage of Steve Kerr did for him in Golden State. He was always a good defensive guy, but I think he took it to the next level offensively with all that tutelage from the great Steve Kerr.
John, what do you think about this hire? Because I think the best case scenario if you're a Knicks fan, you're hoping that like this is sort of like the Joe Torre of the Yankees, where the guy doesn't look like a great resume when he gets there, and he's having the perfect fit for what you have going on.
I think if there wasn't all the chaos, rumors, and sloppiness of the Knicks literally calling everybody around the league to see if they could interview their coaches, I actually think Knick fans would have loved this hire. There's obviously a section of the fan base that's pissed that Tibbs is gone. Why did they have to fire Tibbs? We go to game six of the Eastern Conference final. Because now the standard is set for Mike Brown, where you have to do at least that. But that was going to be the case for anybody that they brought in once they made the change. But I really like this hire. I mean, Tom detailed it. Like he's had a long time coaching. He's evolved a lot since that young coach in Cleveland with LeBron 1.0. All that time in Golden State, he was a big reason why that, obviously the great players and Steve Kerr helped, but he was an architect of changing kind of the way basketball was played, and they kept a lot of the defensive principles that made Cleveland successful, had that really good year in Sacramento. I think this is a really good hire. The Knicks could not afford to go with a first year guy, and if you're going to strike out with all these other guys, you land on Mike Brown. I think that's a winning hire.
Yeah, I would agree with that here. And I know Tom mentioned depth here, but the Knicks actually got a few more people
Hell
on
yeah.
their bench because they get the win that Jordan Clarkson picks them for vet minimum to be the backup point guard here. They had Gershon Yabusele from Philly to be like one of their backup like forward spots here. They still have room for another vet min deal they haven't signed yet. So what about the Knicks offseason booster? It basically was we stood pat with our top seven, but we added two more rotation caliber guys, the ability to add a third, theoretically.
I love it. I couldn't have gone better in my opinion, given what happened this offseason. If KD wasn't going to go to the Knicks and Giannis clearly isn't going anywhere, and you're not going to go out and get a bigger fish than a Karl Anthony Towns, then I love this move. Yabusele is so much better than when the Celtics drafted him. He was amazing in the Olympics. Great for Philly last year. He's going to be a huge big off the bench. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can guard a little bit on the perimeter. He can bang down low. He can shoot it a little, create his own shot. And then Clarkson's instant offense off the bench, which the Knicks desperately need. I don't think he's going to be much of a playmaker, which I'm kind of looking at that vet minimum spot for a point guard. Cam Payne has not been re-signed yet. So there's a couple of names out there. If I could just throw a couple at you boys, would that be okay?
Sure.
How do you guys feel about a Malcolm Brogdon? I mean, the health risk is massive there, but if it pays off, it may pay off in big dividends.
I do it.
I always like Brogdon for that deal too. Why not?
100%. And then the rest of them, Brogdon is my like white whale. I want him for that position. I think he would be perfect. Just great. He could really help out on the defensive end as well. And he's a good point guard. He's just the health risk is there, and that's probably why he's not getting paid a lot of money. Seth Curry, Dinwiddie, Fultz
Yeah.
are my other
Oh,
options.
you didn't mention the one that's been rumored to the Knicks several times.
Who's that?
Ben Simmons.
I
The
don't want to
Knicks have
feed.
the Knicks have been checking in with Ben Simmons according to multiple reports over the last couple weeks.
Well, now I'm
I
checked
want
out.
you I want you to live the Ben Simmons experience so bad.
Yeah, I know they checked it on Marcus Smart, but they didn't have the role that he wanted, which is why he didn't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for glossing over the Simmons comments, Phillips. I really appreciate that because Sean's trying to get a rise out of me, and it's not going to happen.
Well,
Brogdon's my wish.
I'm just saying when that Shams bomb hits that Ben Simmons has agreed to a vet minimum deal with the Knicks, I cannot wait to tweet that to you.
Yeah.
Oh well, fuck you in advance for that. Then I think we can curse on this pod now. So
Rim,
But
rim,
no, I
yeah. Rim running
Seth
five.
Curry, yeah, Seth Curry is not much of a point guard. He's obviously much better shooter. He can
yeah,
handle the ball, but I think he's better, getting
he's more of
somebody.
a creator for others than a Clarkson though.
Oh, for sure. I think I love the Brogdon idea. I think he makes a ton of sense. And there's campaign is a pretty polarizing player, but I do think that if he had a little bit more trust from Tibbs, he could have been a little bit more. He was a key part of that Phoenix team that went to the finals. So I wouldn't mind, from the outside looking in, not a Nick fan, but I think he would still be a decent fit. But you have some options, and the huge thing about the Yabusele deal, Mike, and we talked about this on the pod. He didn't sign. He took like a $250,000 pay cut, which allowed that next vet min to open up. So just a really good job by the Knicks and him to allow a little bit more flexibility around this roster.
Yeah, you gotta give it to the Knicks. They always find the way to get that little nickel and diming going on with the money. Because like we saw a couple times last year where they're like, "Oh, we'll put $1 more than the minimum like in this
Yep.
contract, so like we could squeeze the CBA things out here." Brock Aller is getting his money's worth for that capology.
Oh,
They've done a great job.
100%. And listen, at this point, as Knicks fans and how mediocre to terrible they've been from at least my life at 30 years old, we got to trust the guys that have put this together.
Yeah, it's true. Let's go to the Brooklyn side of things here. And Sean, can you explain to me why they made all five of those first round picks?
Mm.
Oh, Tom's excited about this. He wants me to relitigate
I
this.
don't. I'll just put my point in here real quick, and then I'll let you go on it because it's your squad, Sean. I don't really mind anything they did, and I said this a million times already, but like in a vacuum, I think every single move was fine except for the picks that they actually made. Like I don't even care if you make five picks, but the guys you picked was crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the criticism, right? It's not just that they made all five picks because when you start getting into that 26, 27 range, like you're being lowballed by a lot of teams so it's like not really advantageous. And the Nets didn't have anybody on their roster, so they were in a position where they could make all five picks. The redundancy of the players, obviously,
Reaches.
some reaches as well, at least according to draft experts. So,
Yeah.
we've got a long way to go. It's a developmental team. It's a young team. The one thing that I will hang my hat on from an optimist standpoint, and I have no other choice, is the Nets actually under Sean Marks have developed players incredibly well. Remember, his first few years, the Nets didn't have any picks. So they had to bring in a D'Angelo Russell, who was a former lottery pick. He had probably his best part of his career in that first iteration with the Nets. You drafted Karis LeVert, who came off the foot injury. He turned into a nice player. You picked Jared Allen out of Texas. He turned into a good player. You take a flyer on Spencer Dinwiddie. He's turned into a nice role player across the league. And even this year, guys on like 2 year or two-way deals, like a Tyrese Martin and a Zaire Williams, who was a former lottery pick, like they've developed guys very well. And I think that Sean Marks is looking at it, especially with Jordy Fernandez, where Tom makes fun of it all the time because it's true. They were supposed to win. I think their over under last year was 18 games, and they had that by like January or February. So like they clearly are able to get more out of guys that you've thought. So I think the Nets are looking, hey, we're in no rush. These are the players we like. We're going to develop them. Noah Clowney already is showing something, and two other guys too. Cam Thomas was a late first round pick. He's a restricted free agent right now, but we know he can score the hell out of the ball. And Nick Claxton, who was a second round pick, they turned into a $100 million player. So they clearly know how to develop guys. It's now just you don't have the expedited process of having to rush it. So in a vacuum, Mike, I don't mind the fact that they drafted all five guys. I think some of them are interesting players, but the fact that there were definitely players at certain positions in the draft where I thought that the value was better elsewhere. But hey, this is what they did, so let's roll with it.
Yeah, I think
And
my
they're also not the New Orleans Pelicans. Let me just put that in there
Thank you.
because, yeah, and no matter the incompetence after what they did, they make everybody else look good.
yeah, I think the one concern you have here is like I just don't know how you're rostering all these young players because you can
They're
only
not going to.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to. Several of them are going to start in Long Island and probably play most of the year there.
Yeah, well, is Ben Sarif staying in Israel? Like that's not
No, he's coming over. Yeah, he's coming over. He already told his team he's coming over. Like I think he's probably going to start in Long Island. Danny Wolf too, to just refine their games.
Mike, maybe me and you should become Long Island Nets season ticket holders. What do you think, buddy? Sounds like they're gonna have some talent.
yeah, well, I mean, Steve Cohen got some money from me already. I don't have more money to give to the Nets.
That's fair, very fair. Steve Cohen needs his bread so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, that Solar kind of got to pay for itself.
Yeah, I know, and he ain't gonna pay
Fair
for
point.
it either.
Yeah.
So he needs the fans to do it.
Yeah, and I will also say here, Sean did nail on our offseason preview pod. The Nets were going to be the NBA way station here. I will call attention to that Cam Johnson trade with Denver, where you just take on Michael Porter's contract to get that unprotected 2032 first round pick, which is it feels like a lot like they're definitely kicking the can down the road to when they can just consolidate assets for a star at some point.
Tom, I'll let you take this first.
For sure, I agree with that, but at the same time, we've gone over it. And Sean, Sean said the market wasn't really there, and the only thing I would fault the Nets for is maybe not selling at Cam Johnson's highest value. Maybe they could have gotten more at the trade deadline. But at the end of the day, like you said, Mike, the Nets are rebuilding for the distant future, and also, I think it's a great deal for both sides because Michael Porter Jr. is a distressed asset that the Nets could turn around and flip if he performs well. He's a young guy; he's going to be going for another contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more than okay with the trade. And I've heard like we talked about on our pod, like Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo slammed it because they're not Michael Porter Jr. fans. And that's fine. I think Michael Porter Jr. distressed asset is the perfect category to throw him in there, Tom. Like he was done
Ben Simmons too, right?
yeah, Ben Simmons too. But I also look at Denver, like it wasn't just that he didn't fit with that team as much anymore, but his salary was so great that it was prohibiting them from being able to be flexible with their roster. And obviously, I'm sure we're going to talk about later how the Nuggets offseason was, which I think was one of the best around the league. But for the Nets, you get a guy who won a championship, is a great three-point shooter, can work on more elements of his game. Once he got traded over, he said that, he thinks there's other versions of his game he could get to, more about that development thing that's not just young guys or, taking chances on G Leaguers. The Nets have developed NBA players too. He's going to have free reign in this roster, and he's the kind of player that you look at like an Igor Demin and some of these other guards, Traore, like, guys that are really good creators. You want a knockdown shooter. Cam Johnson was that too, but I think that he fits what Denver wants to do. You definitely could have traded Cam Johnson, like Tom said, at various other points, probably gotten more picks. That 2032 pick, the Nets are never going to make. Like, that's not the point. The point is that eventually the prime of the Joker is not going to be there, and it's a pick that you kick the can down the road and you say we have this asset, and maybe in 3 or 4 years we know how quickly things change in the NBA. That could be a pick around the league in 2, 3, 4 years where people are like, whoa. And let's keep in mind too, the Denver ownership is relatively cheap, so. I think for the Nets, it's like we get an unprotected first out of this, and we get a really good player who we can kind of just let consistently develop, and we could flip for more if he really is good, or we can just sign him. I think the other last section of this too, Mike, is heading into the offseason. We talked about on your pod that the belief around the league was that the Nets could be this way station and there was going to be a lot of bad money that the Nets could just take on. That market never really materialized. There's not really many teams that were able to just offload contracts. So for the Nets, it's like, yeah, you spent all this cap space on Michael Porter Jr., but there weren't all these other trades to be had where you were going to accumulate multiple picks and interesting young players. So from that vantage point, I don't really see the criticism.
Yeah, I just think I'm just waiting for the crazy fact that Sean Marks get a third opportunity to build a super team in Brooklyn and see if it goes better than the first two.
Well, the first one, right? What was the second one?
Well, I mean, like I guess I guess you're right technically, but I mean, like the third time might be the charm for the Brooklyn super team because he got
Yeah,
the,
but I don't even think they're looking at it that way. Like they're going to be an attractive destination at some point for some free agents, but the day of the big threes and all that, like Tom, we've talked about it. Those days are gone in today's NBA.
especially with the way the CBA is
And
designed
you have to
now.
build through young teams, and the best way you do that is develop your own talent. And
Yeah,
if
and
you take
yeah,
swings, you have a chance.
the NBA is going to be looking a lot more like the NFL when you get a hot quarterback, when you get a hot young quarterback and you go all in. Like look at the OKC Thunder.
And
yeah.
they're also not going to be like they're not trying to be good. So I'm glad they picked that direction. And now you got Porter Jr. who can fill up the stat sheet. You're probably going to make an agreement with Cam Thomas on whether he takes the qualifying offer or sign like a 1-and-1 type deal at low value. You could flip him. Claxton, somebody you could move in season if you want to. Like they're going to be bad, and they're going to be bad probably for about 2 years. But that being in Brooklyn, New York, which is why they moved from New Jersey in the first place. It's a destination. It's a place players want to play.
Sean's got to do the
So,
sales pitch part that
so it's
he's still
like,
got the pamphlet from when they
so
originally
that's
moved.
that's why you just say, hey, let's make sure we don't have a lot of money, future money on the books. Let's
As
try to develop
people
our own players, and we'll
as
go from
people
there.
who actually live here, Mike, you and I know that it's a Brooklyn Nets fan talking right now.
They
But
did get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
they did. They
Yes.
absolutely did. I think that might be the last time that they go that avenue. But no, I really do like this move, especially because the other thing is like you said, they're betting on a team that's historically cheap and stupid. And this Joker run that deodorizes that is not going to last forever because he's not going to play forever. And I think it's a really smart move to take advantage of a team that's notoriously cheap and silly. Like, look at the year that they just had. They wasted a year of Joker
Yes.
by not making the moves that they made this offseason earlier.
Yeah, the one part of the sales pitch Sean missed there is that you can dap up Jay-Z at center court, like on the
True. I don't know, man. We'll
I don't
see.
even know if he's still going to the games.
Cat Williams says 2025, everybody's getting exposed. So I don't know if we're
Oh
going to be
boy,
dapping him up much longer. Keep your eyes out and your ears to the ground.
that's it.
Yeah, that's it here. And I want to say here, let's get to some of the other crazy moves around the league here. I mean, the legitimate bomb of the offseason was this whole like the Bucks waiving and stretching Damian Lillard's
Mhm.
contracts and carry like what is it, like 30 million dead cap in the next 5 years that could fit Miles Turner in now. So reactions to that wild maneuver sequence of transactions and does end with Dame back in Portland for like the presumably the end of his career.
I think
Thank you, Tom.
I was sad from a Dame perspective just because he's towards the end of his career and whatnot, but for sure I think he goes back to Portland. It seems like all signs are pointing to that, unless maybe there's a ring to chase.
Well,
I think he's got some time to think about it, right?
did sign there.
Oh yeah, he did. He already signed the deal. I don't know. I mean, he's probably going to end his career there because he's not playing next year, and then we'll see. So he can be a mentor out there. But for the Bucks, which I think is the most important part of this trade, I just honestly thought it was a tad bit irresponsible in the fact
A
that
tad
yes,
bit.
you have, yes, very irresponsible because I understand you do have Giannis, but at the end of the day, we just said it about Joker. He's not going to play forever, A. B, he could still ask out at any time. And on top of that, I don't think you should make this move unless it unequivocally makes you the best team in your conference, at least. And this move did not do that.
Yeah,
No, to do this for Miles Turner too. Like
Nice player.
not
Nice
very nice
player.
player. I don't look at them any differently in the East, even in a diluted East. And yeah, like cool, but I mean, you are so far in cap hell now
Yeah, because
that
keep in mind that, with all the cap hell that they're in, they also gave up all of their draft capital to appease Giannis already.
Yeah. Also, what worth mentioning is wild to think about too is like that. Like I see the appeal because you look at the East right now. Cleveland limped down the stretch. The Knicks just fired their coach. Indiana and Boston both lost superstars for the season. I see how Milwaukee thinks. Okay, let's just take a swing here, see if we can get to the finals again with Giannis in his prime. But like, is that the swing you want to take? I don't know.
well, you better be freaking right because if you're not and he leaves, or, we've talked about it too, Mike. We might have even brought it up the last time we were on. The Bucks are in a position where I don't think they're that far away from just being like, I don't even care if he requests a trade. I think it's the best business just to trade him because there's no way out here. And in today's NBA, we've seen what Phoenix has done. I'm sure we're going to talk about them. Like, there is no way out if you are that far down the road, both financially and in terms of lacking assets. So it's such a gamble. I don't get it. And yeah, it was a move out of complete desperation.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for years. Like the Spurs just sitting there collecting assets, hoping that Giannis wants to go there.
Sure.
Oh, well, 100%. And there's going to be people you're going to put, if you make that a TikTok or whatever, they're going to be commenting on it in like November when the Bucks go on a good run. I do think this makes the Bucks a better team, and I think
Oh
they're going to be
yeah.
a good regular season team. But when this shit actually matters in come, April, May, June, I do not think that they're past the second round. And at the end of the day, you're mortgaging your future for the next 5 years and probably more just to make this deal to make you what, maybe the third best team in the East on paper?
Yeah, I think we can just simplify it. If they don't win a title, this is a very
A
irresponsible move.
disaster.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the KD trade, which came right before the draft. I think like the week we recorded, it came out like 2 days after we recorded the episode here. So
Of course.
yeah, the trade basically Phoenix gets Durant over to Houston. They get back Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, number 10 in the draft, which they do something strange with, and 5 second-round picks. So this is like it tells you like just like how far the KD value fell, and the fact that like he was just so still somehow managed to completely like hijack the process. And Phoenix did not, I think, get a ton back for their value there.
Well, that's Phoenix's fault because they just, with the Bradley Beal situation and doing all that, they just kind of shot themselves in the head. I wouldn't even say in the foot because they didn't really have any power. And once they decided to move off of him and KD didn't want to be there anymore. And plus, we knew it was coming for 6 months because at the trade deadline, they were like, yeah, we're gonna trade him in the offseason. Um, but for the Rockets, like this is a no-brainer. They didn't lose much and they got Kevin Durant, who's still an impact player. And I think he's absolutely the perfect fit on this team because he's kind of the one thing that they didn't have, a bona fide scorer that can get a bucket at any time and he's going to close for you as well.
It's a huge upgrade for Houston. We kind of knew this was the fate that Phoenix had. I mean, I think there was still a reality, an alternate reality that existed where they could have, if they weren't so open about saying we're absolutely trading him from the deadline on, where they could have just kind of come back and like cooler heads could have prevailed and been like, is it really worth trading him? Like, why don't we just go back and try it again? Because you know you're not going to get optimal value in return. Jalen Green is a really good player, I think. He's a really good scorer. I think he's still learning how to play the game of basketball. He didn't fit that Houston team anymore, particularly with the ascension of Amin Thompson. But I do think he's a very talented player. The problem is he doesn't fit with Devin Booker at all. And I think that what I'm looking at from Phoenix now is like, I know Booker just signed a 2 year, $150 million deal, but like, or extension, but I know he said he's going to be loyal there, but like, you're going to have to trade Jalen Green soon, probably reroute him by the trade deadline because him and Booker are not going to fit together. As for Houston, it's just a home run. You got one of the best players in the history of the sport, and he should be, we've said this a lot, in the perfect situation to just be what he is and let everybody else in that ecosystem do what they do best.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Jalen Green is definitely getting rerouted at some point. It's a matter of who takes him and thinks that he fits their system. And we'll see if KD kills Houston like he's killed the last two teams he went to.
Yeah, I mean, it's always up for debate, right?
I think there's a better infrastructure in there. And I think Ujiri is a hell of a coach and well respected, but
That's not Ujiri. That's Udoka.
Adoka, excuse me. Sorry, got my coaches run there.
But
But
I's unemployed right now.
yes, but that is true. But with that being said, like you never know with KD because we sat here and we said how great it was going to be in Brooklyn, and we said how great it was going to be in Phoenix, and he hasn't won since Golden State. So
Yeah,
and everywhere he's gone has
Yeah, it
had a
hasn't been
tough
good.
time.
well,
Yeah, I do agree though with you, Tom. Like you do, him and Udoka are very, very
That's who it
close,
is,
and that
Udoka.
was
There it
and that was
is.
a huge reason why he kind of forced his way to Houston
But
too.
you know what? I mean, to play devil's advocate on myself, he's the one who handpicked Nash too, right?
Of course, like, but so again, the answer is unclear at this point. But I do think at this stage of his career, I think it's what's one thing, Mike, to that point that's abundantly clear is he has no interest being a vocal leader on a team. And even though it's Kevin fucking
To give
Durant,
him credit, he has always said that he just wants to hoop.
he just wants to hoop and he leads by example on the floor, but he's not ever tried to be a team leader or a vocal leader. But it's freaking Kevin Durant. Like you're it's an unbelievable upgrade for Houston. Like that's a great you never say no to that.
yeah, it just feel like you're at the point of the career where like Kevin Durant needs to like I think he's realized he needs to stop like offering input. I'm like I want my guys to come and just say, okay, I'll go to this situation and help out. I think that
Well, now he doesn't have a choice because he's not
Yeah,
building his own team.
exactly. Houston's already kind of ready made, which I think is really going to help him out though as well, because he literally just has to be that guy at that just get us a bucket whenever you can, and it can truly be free flowing, and they're going to cover for him where he doesn't want to do certain things at this point in his career because they're just so young, and I mean, I can't wait to see that defense.
yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
I mean, I gotta say this also here. I'll throw this up on the screen for the YouTube version here with the Kevin Durant thing, because it's crazy how much he's like moved around in his career, but like the man has legitimately completed the NBA rainbow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Look at
there's a little
that.
bit of cheating in there with the Seattle OKC. That wasn't his fault, but I mean, he looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
Give
I
him
mean,
credit. He's aged well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's still a prolific. Like he's 25 and 10 just in his sleep.
I meant looks wise.
Yeah, that too. He's a
yeah,
good looking dude.
yeah. And I have to say, it's also wild that a guy like who might be like a top 10 like scorer in the history of the league is now gonna be on like his fifth different team. As like that just makes no sense to me.
Very, very unique career. I don't think we're going to see another one of those from the all-time greats. He's just a different guy.
He's a superstar that if his career were to end now, Tom and I have talked about it. Like, I have no idea what his home team is.
I think it's OKC, which is crazy because he doesn't have a ring from there.
No, and he chose to leave them to their biggest
True. I
rival and
I
basically
don't know.
break them up. Like, I think time heals all wounds, and Oklahoma City will, especially now that they've won, I think would obviously look back very fondly on the KD Russ years. But like, Golden State should be his home, but it's not. It's always Steph's and it's Draymond's and it's Clay's, and the way he left was ugly. And it could have been Brooklyn, and then he burned that place down. And then it looked like when the Nets traded him, I was like, oh, he's just going to retire in Phoenix. That's a great situation. 2 years later, he's out of there. So it's like this is the one superstar that I'm just trying to think. It's like you can't
It's a
associate.
nomad.
Yeah, you can't associate him with one single team, which is nuts.
Yeah. If Seattle gets the NBA team back, they should just claim him and just retire his number.
Oh, that's a
100%.
no-brainer, dude. That's 1,000%.
Yeah.
Claim his rings too.
Speaking of another legend who has wandered a few places here, what is LeBron's plan here? Because like I
Oh,
that like he opts in, he doesn't take any less dollars than the Lakers, but has this message go out through his agents like. I'm committed to winning, and I want to go somewhere where that they're committed to winning too. And we see that the Lakers made moves that were like, more in line with what would benefit Luca than benefit him. So like I don't know what is going through his brain right now. Like you guys have any theories?
We're at a very interesting point in the career of LeBron James to where it's the first time a guy of his ilk doesn't have the juice anymore on his own team, where they're making moves for Luca, and I think he just misplayed a hand there, like terribly. And typically he doesn't really misplay hands off the court when it comes to business negotiations with Clutch and all his guys over there, but I just think he thought that he could push the Lakers around for at least one more year and doesn't really look like they're up for it, to be honest with you. And I don't know what he's going to do. I have no notes next to that question because I don't know his plan. Sean, do you?
There's a lot of levels to this. Brian Windhorst reported that the Lakers would quote unquote love to trade LeBron. The problem is I don't know how you do it with that salary. I don't know the kind of team that would be willing
That's why he
to
took the
bring him
deal
in.
so that he
But
could still
that
control the
it's
situation.
but he doesn't though. Like that is to me
Everybody's
what
just going to be
doesn't make
pissed. That's
sense.
all.
Like it is the first time in his career that he does not have control of his own destiny past this year. Every other year he's had these opt-outs or these player options or whatever, the one and ones, like reworking his contract so that he had all the flexibility and all the power. He doesn't have any of that now. And it's so fascinating to me because I think he wants out. I really don't think he wants to be there. And I think the Lakers, I agree with Windhorst. Like, I think the Lakers would love to trade him to all the reasons Tom said. They are building that team. They just sold. So now they're going to have all this extra money, cash flow coming in to build it, basically to make sure that Lucas signs that super
Well, yeah, they're
max
competing with the
extension.
Clippers in that new arena. I'm sure they're going to get rid of I don't think it's called Staples anymore, but
It's
whatever the hell it's
crypto
called.
now. Yeah. But agreed. Like, it's always going to be a Laker town, just like it's always going to be a Knicks town. But like, the Clippers are a main attraction now in that part and where that stadium is, and they're still good. So for the Lakers, like, it's just a situation that I feel like is getting very ugly. And I don't understand LeBron's point. Like, he should have opted out and had complete control of where he wanted to go. Because, you're hearing these speculations that the Lakers would buy him. Why the hell would the Lakers buy out that deal and stretch that money or do anything so he can go sign on the vet minimum with the freaking Mavs or like somebody like that? And then you're hearing across the landscape, Bobby Marks went on Get Up a couple weeks ago when this bomb first broke, and he was like, there's no market for him. And that doesn't mean that teams don't want him, but they want him on their terms. Like Cleveland would love to have him back, but only on the vet minimum. I think the Knicks would love to have him, but they're not going to give up their future for a 40-year-old LeBron James, no matter how great he still is. He was still an all NBA player last year. Like he's
Also, if
still
you're trading
incredible.
for him, he's going to get his way, which means he thinks that he can run your team.
Right. And so I think that at that point, this is just not a very attractive player slash situation given the contract. And he has a no trade clause too. So the Lakers are kind of handcuffed. LeBron's kind of handcuffed. And I think my bold prediction, the more I've thought about it, Tom and I have not talked NBA in a little
Let's hear
bit.
it. Shit.
He's going to be traded this summer, and I think he's going to be a New York Knick.
Wow. Okay. Do you have any details on that deal?
I think that there's players that the Knicks could part with. I think a Mikal Bridges, something in there could work. There's questions of whether they even want to sign Mikal Bridges. The whole point of signing Mikal Bridges to a long-term contract would be just to have him there if a Giannis
Just
shakes
not to lose
loose.
the asset.
Right. And
That's
if a
all.
Giannis shakes loose, they're still monitoring that situation according to Ian Begley and a lot of other people close to that organization. But I just feel like ultimately this feels very ugly between LeBron and the Lakers. And if both sides don't want him there, and I thought a very interesting part about this too was like NBA teams, their social media teams put out press releases or social media releases for literally every transaction that's ever made. Like whether you sign your two-way guy to a guaranteed deal or your second round pick signs or whatever. And there was no mention that LeBron James opted into his 1 year deal or his player option. And I thought that was interesting. And you go to Summer League and Dave McMenamin of ESPN asks him to do a sit down to kind of talk about the situation. He declines. That was very cryptic what Rich Paul put out. That's that statement that kind of started this whole thing. And when you're looking at the landscape of the league, there's not many places for him to go. I don't think Cleveland makes any sense. I don't think Dallas is not going to do it. So you're just looking, it's like, what's the team for LeBron? And LeBron has always been very strategic with where he could go to possibly win. And he's been, I know I'm dominating the mic here, but like there's just so
It's
many
okay.
parts of this. He's talked about ring culture in two different ways. Like earlier in his career, it was all about getting to six at least to tie Jordan and then maybe pass him. And then he came out and I think talking on his podcast with Steve Nash about how ring culture is dumb and all that. He wants to win. Do you mean to tell me that he's not looking at the Eastern Conference and he's like, I know the Knicks can't, I know what they can't gut their roster for me, but if I could find my way there under some kind of hypothetical trade, I could win a championship out of that Eastern Conference with Tatum out and Halliburton out and the Cavs still not being proven. Like, I don't know. It just feels like something wild's going to happen. And it seems like it's a very untenable situation in LA from both parties. And I'm just looking at the rest of the league. I'm like, where would be a LeBron James esque destination? And I kind of feel like the Knicks still have some of the flexibility to make something happen without gutting their entire freaking team.
Yeah, the thing I watch salary odds at that is like you wonder if you're the Knicks, the closest money match, and obviously you're not moving Brunson is probably Cat, and you
You're going to have to get three or four teams involved in this thing.
oh for
This is
sure,
not going
for
to be
sure.
a one for
Oh
one.
for sure,
This is not going to be a one for one
Yeah, because they're
deal.
not trading Cat for LeBron.
yeah, because
No. So you're going to have to find other teams. There's going to be have a lot of other players. And we just saw a 7-team trade happen for the first time in the history of the league as part of that Durant trade. So, like, it would have to be very complex. That's why I think the summer could make sense because all these GMs just met with each other out in Vegas and across the various other destinations in Summer League. And we've seen some monster trades materialize late. The Cat trade happened in September last year. The Donovan Mitchell trade happened Labor Day weekend a couple years ago. Like we've seen some seismic things happen, and the only way you could really get this to materialize with a lot of other parties is to get teams on board. And I just feel like LeBron, who's one of the most powerful players in the history of professional sports, is looking at this situation. He doesn't want to be there. The Lakers are ready to move on. He knows he can't win with that roster. And the last part about the money too, like people would say, well, if you're that concerned, why don't you just opt out? I think there's two very different conversations with LeBron. He believes at this point, like you just heard him yesterday say he wants a retirement tour. Now he has to play another year after this because Chris Paul's retiring. And if you think he's sharing a retirement tour with Chris Paul, it's not going to fucking happen. He wants the stage to
Uh,
himself. And with all the money that he's brought in for the league and all the
KD should
cap,
retire.
all the
Every big
every
player should retire like
Harden,
every year just to spite him.
but like you're getting to the point where he's just like, why should I not take the most money? Like I have done so much for this fucking league. The league would not be anywhere near where it is if it wasn't for me. I'm not taking a dime less than
I
what I'm
agree. I
worth.
agree with
But
everything
you're talking out of both
you're
sides of your
speaking,
mouth there because
LeBron.
now you're like, well, now you're okay, fine.
But
Like
yeah,
you
you want
do
to win.
deserve that money, but if you want to win, you can't take all that money
Yeah,
because
it's
the
a
Lakers
salary
can't
cap
build
league.
out their roster. And the last part of this too is he clearly doesn't have a great relationship with Pelinka. He doesn't like how he wasn't consulted about the Luka trade. He doesn't like how they're building everything and not signing guys so that they can have all this money available in the summer of 2027. So that relationship seems a little fractured too. I'm sorry for talking so long, but there's a lot there.
No, we had a little bit of a Windhorse moment there. Sean was just reading tea leaves for us, Mike. I appreciate that.
yeah. Also, I'm sure I don't think he was happy about the fact that I don't think he was in the loop on the sale either. I don't think it made him happy either.
No.
Okay, no, I think he feels very disrespected at this point.
And you're definitely right on the talking out of both sides of the mouth thing. Is he wants the money? Fine, go with the
Yeah,
money.
but that's
Don't put the statement out there and say I want to be somewhere that's committed to winning. It's like, dude, you made it that much harder for your team to win by taking every dollar off the table.
but that's been LeBron's MO forever. Like his whole career, he just talks out of both sides of his mouth. And listen, we'll give LeBron his flowers. Like at the end of the day, he's the second greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion, and he's had Probably the greatest sports career of anybody thus far, if you think about everything and how he started. But at the end of the day, he does this shit all the time. I want to be the villain. I'm the villain. Let's embrace it. Now I want to be the hero. Like, all this stuff he does, fit in or fit out with the tweets, and then deny. Like, he's been doing this his whole career, and now it's just the jig is up because he can't get away with it because he's 40 something years old.
And
Remember two
back
years ago? Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I say back to the Nick point also here, like when you're looking for him, like what's something he can do like that could enhance his legacy that like he hasn't
There
done
you
yet.
go.
It's like go be the
Yeah.
final piece to help the Knicks snap a 50
No,
point
listen,
wild run.
Sean's conspiracies were they're buttoned up. They're full circle. There's no half-baked ideas with that guy.
Listen, man, I'm not going to say something like that and just try to do some clickbait on Mike's podcast. We're not those guests. But the last thing too, remember very different players, but remember 2 years ago when James Harden oddly opted into that player option with the Sixers
Yeah.
and thought that they had an agreement that he would be traded or that he would opt in or I'm sorry, a new contract would come to fruition and Daryl Morey basically was like no. And then he wanted to be traded and it dragged into the season and it was ugly. And then they finally traded him to the Clippers. He thought he was going to get his way because he thought he still had the power that James Harden had back in Houston, and he clearly didn't. I know they're different circumstances, and obviously LeBron is a higher stratosphere than James Harden, but I think LeBron, by opting in with that no trade clause, thought, well, I have all the power in this situation. It's like, no, actually, dude, like you just took away the power you had from yourself because you're not LeBron James of even 4 years ago, where teams are going to be fawning over themselves to bring you in. They'll happily bring you in, but they're going to want to do it on their terms, and their terms are not by breaking up their entire roster to import you. So I feel like he misread the situation too, which is weird because it seems like he's never had a false step, at least when it comes to his contracts.
Yeah, for sure. Let's wrap up a couple other things here. Let's talk about like he's gonna be an under the radar move you like this offseason. Like what's something sneaky you always talk about you think like really improve a team?
Well, I think a glaring one is obviously OKC locking up their core, um, just signing everybody. But to give you another one, just that one is way too obvious. The Cavaliers trading for Lonzo Ball and then drafting that Proctor kid out of Duke. That was robbery to me. That was like they lose they trade a Coro and they lost who did they lose, Sean?
They lost to Coro and Levert. No, Levert was in Atlanta. I'm trying to remember if they lost anybody
The
else from their
white
roster.
shooter.
Oh, Ty Jerome. I'm sorry.
Ty
Yeah, yeah,
Jerome. But they replace him with Alonzo Ball, and this guy Proctor, I think, is going to be pretty good, at least defensively. Like I thought that was a huge steal because they gave up a player that's kind of redundant for a guy that they really needed,
yeah. That was a really good move.
and a
I thought.
flexible deal as well. He's on.
Yeah, but Tom, I think you mentioning the Thunder locking up their core is underrated is so true because we just assumed it would all be inevitable, but these are massive, massive deals that they're handing out, and because of how many assets they still have, if they continue to hit on their picks, just continue to surround those three with different
Hmm.
iterations of this team. And Presti's going to trade guys for good value. So I think that's a huge story of the offseason that hasn't been talked about enough because it was going to be obviously inevitable. But a couple to me, we talked about the Cam Johnson deal. We did not talk about them also bringing in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jonas Valanciunas. It's the first time that Joker's going to have a legitimate backup center for him in a very long time. And Hardaway's a knockdown shooter. They also brought back Bruce Brown, who won a championship with them. And then I absolutely love what the Clippers have done. I mean, you want to talk about maybe underrated and obviously the jokes of the AARP team, but like they to trade Norman Powell, who was almost an all-star last year, and you bring in Bradley Beal to that team, like he's going to fit them so much better. You bring back Chris Paul, who's going to be a legitimate backup point guard for you, and you get John Collins for nothing, who's a good player. Like I feel like John Collins has become very underrated because
Absolutely.
of that terrible situation he was in Utah, where they're just a tanking team. So you replace Norman Powell, who's a very good player, but to bring in Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, and John Collins, like that's an incredible offseason.
Yeah, it is here. Another one I'll throw out here for interesting offseason here, teams that got better here. I think the moves Atlanta made, if they really help, like fit.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, we could thank you for bringing them up. They were on my most improved teams list because I love the moves they made. I do want to give the Knicks another shout out though because I don't want to underrate those moves. I thought that they had one of the better off seasons of the NBA as well.
Yeah,
Oh, those are huge, great additions, and they fit your team perfectly too. They're exactly what you've needed.
yeah, I'll throw them in here. I'll throw Portland in too. Not only do they basically like get like Drew Holiday, which they can who they can reroute at some point, like if he shows he's healthy here, and you get Dame back to finish his career there. I think that's a nice offseason to bring in like some real veterans to help that young team like grow.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah.
I don't mind the move, and they definitely need some veterans in there because they have a lot of talent and a lot of youth. If you think about it, and the problem nobody probably thinks about Portland, but Shaden Sharp, Scoot, like those guys could learn a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think having Dame in that locker room and the excitement of bringing him back next year into the fold, he can be a true mentor to Scoot. Because remember, the year Scoot came in as a rookie, that summer was the tumultuous summer of them trying to trade him, but they're not going to trade him to the Heat. So all that stuff. So yeah, I really like that. Obviously, Yang Hansen, who they drafted, is an interesting prospect. They have a bunch of centers, but they're not going to be a good team, but they're gonna be I think a fun team. And Jeremy Grant might be able to provide some value because he might actually be invigorated again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
they might be able to get something for him at the deadline.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff this offseason. We think we cover a good chunk of it. So I know you guys coming on. You really appreciate it. People want to keep up with your pod. How can they do that?
Sorry to interrupt podcast, YouTube, as well as pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Sorry Sports. Instagram and TikTok is what? Sean Sorry _sports.
That's it, brother.
And I'm T Bocchino 94 on Twitter if you want to DM me and talk some shit.
Yeah, if you
Oh
want.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to get in those DMs for Tom and like and chop it up, he'll go back and forth with you.
Anytime.
And he'll bring it
Anytime.
to the air too. He'll challenge it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And by the way, thank you for having us on as always.
absolutely
It's
here.
always a pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely. And people listening to the podcast here, stick around. I'm going to be joined in just a minute by my friend over the coast of the Sky Guys podcast, Nick Frey. We're covering Squid Game 3 right after this.